Yo. Welcome back. Welcome back to another episode of Pro Pels Talk. It's me, Five. It's my dog, Ross. We're in the building. Shout out to our sponsors, DraftKings Sportsbook and the Birdsall Lawfirm. Holla at them because they like us. You know, they next door to the Superdome. I don't have the reads. I don't give a fuck about none of that. Pels get a big W, 115-92 over the New York Knicks. Let's get into it. Okay, Lala, you do the thing. No.
Took away. That's for this. Get your money's worth now.
Bet. Good. Appreciate y'all pulling up in the chat. Shout out to y'all, man. Pels get a good win. I wouldn't say great win, right? They were out Jalen Brunson, but a much needed win, right? Ross, first idea of this win versus a downtrodden Knicks team.
Before the fourth quarter, I might have called it an ugly win. And I still think it was a little bit of an ugly win. But, look, you're playing a team with this down, I think, 3 or 4 starters. I felt like we had the game in hand, mostly in the second half, just kind of wore them down. They were on the second night of a back-to-back. I don't take a lot away from games like this. I think if I take anything away from it, it's the little things, right? It's, and I'm sure we'll talk a lot more about Trey Murphy, but it's guys like that. You got to use these opportunities to get yourself back going, and whatever that means, right? Whether that's from an intensity perspective, whether it's from a confidence perspective, whether it's shooting, whatever it is. It was good to see him really get going in the fourth quarter. He put the game away. He iced the game. I think that could be really big for him over these last 20 whatever games. And so if you take nothing away from this other than that, it's a positive.
Let's stay right there with Trey Murphy. I think, to be honest, we were all looking for this game from him, right? We were kind of almost like teetering at this point, like, man, hopefully you didn't see a kind of regression. Chris, I mean, we've been covering this guy for the last couple years, man, and we see the potential in Trey Murphy, but seeing it on a night like this, although it's not a great basketball game per se, it's still in Madison Square Garden, right? It's the mecca of basketball, and he performed. Can you just say can you kind of talk about how this can propel a guy like Trey Murphy going forward?
Yeah, man. First off, what's going on, fellas? Yeah, I mean, sometimes, man, all it takes is one game. There were, and specifically with shooters, man, when you see the basketball, you look at Matt Ryan, for example, he misses as much time as he does. He sees his first shot go in, then his next 2 go in, and it's the same thing. And then you see him today, he doesn't play until the end of the third quarter, but he makes, I believe both of the threes that he took. And for Trey, I think the mastery of it all is that it's all mental, dog. It's all mental, and we didn't want to completely make it like we didn't want the injury to become an excuse. But at the end of the day, that's a mental element of what he was dealing with as well. So to have a game against any level of competition, bro, where he's taking shots that make him feel like him. He may have had moments where he had decent games, so on and so forth. But I think him being able to put together a step back, cross combo, and dunk at the rim is making him feel like him. Him being able to step back, gather, and shoot 30 feet, and the ball go in all net, don't even touch the rim. Him being able to complete, or him being able to hit multiple jumpers, that's what shooters and guys like him start to feel like themselves. And I'm sure it helps that you get to play in that kind of environment, against a scrappy team, even though, they're missing half their roster. It all counts the same, man.
Can I add one more thing to that?
Go ahead,
because Chris said something that was really, I think he alluded to it, which was Trey's first 2 baskets. The first was a pull-up in the first quarter, and I don't think he had a basket until the second, whenever he had the blow-by, crossover blow-by Bogdanovich for the dunk. I think those type of things are just so vitally important for guys like Trey. You've had now, whatever it is, a month of poor shooting for your first 2 baskets, and it might have been his first 2 shots. Maybe he missed a 3 in there somewhere, I'm not sure. But it was definitely his first 2 baskets. I think to it's almost like you have to reprove to yourself something. Like, wait, I don't just have to shoot. Like, I've gotten more to my game. Let's utilize that. And then it's like anything else. Like, what, you just see the ball, damn thing, go through the hoop, right? Whether it's a dunk, whether it's a pull up, whether it's a free throw, it doesn't matter. Guys like that, just see it go through the basket. And then, at some point, the floodgates open, and they did form in the fourth quarter. So it'll be nice if we can see that kind of mentality continue to carry over.
My dog Lito pulls up to the show, but before we move on to our next point, I think Trey was battling a mental battle the entire time. You can tell because he was knocking down the tougher shots and missing the easy ones. So that's all mental, right? Like, what was the game before he shoots on Jabari Parker because he had made a three? It's a side step. Like, he makes the tougher ones, but yet he was missing the easy ones. And I think that's just a product of it. Like, he was just in his head too much. And I just think tonight he was like, fuck it, I'm going to just keep shooting it. And I think that's kind of Lito's motto. Lito, anything you want to add to Trey before we move on to anybody else?
First of all, welcome back to Five. You've been sorely fucking missed, man. Like you have a, much like we talk about Hawk, Trey got a special, he has a skill set. He provides a value that not many people on the team has. And if you combine that with his athleticism and, like Ross said, right, getting back to just dunking that shit. Like, fuck all the thinking. I'm not gonna think about. But you know what? That's what happens when you have a surgery. When you have surgery, it makes you second guess everything that you do right. So the shit that you would rely upon to get your game going when you're not making shots, you can't do that because you feel I can't. Okay, well I can't. I don't have the quick step right now. I can't beat him off the dribble. And when I get there, I'm scared to plant because I don't know what my leg gonna do. I've been there before.
Yeah.
So like I really feel like, you know what I'm saying? Like everything y'all said was high key, you know what I'm saying, on point. I can't stress enough like his importance, his shot variation, bro. Like Five, and that shit you said about making tough shots. See, that's on point as hell because those are shots where you don't have to think.
Yep.
But that's the thing in life though, right? Like the easy ones, the ones you're supposed to make.
Yeah.
That's just how it goes. Like it don't fall.
Nah,
Lito.
true. Oh, go ahead, Chris.
No. I was gonna say, I think one of the things you brought up in regards to surgery, I think that's actually a really good point. Or dealing with like, I don't know about Ross, and Ross, you can say if you have or not, but I think I know for Five and Lito, and I've broken my forearm before. I think we've all had different level like of injuries during something that we at the time really enjoyed doing. You know what I'm saying? And I remember breaking my forearm and taking the cast off, and my forearm was it looked like one forearm ate the other. Like, you know what I'm saying? I didn't, playing basketball felt like a struggle because my arm was flailing around like SpongeBob. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I couldn't imagine being a professional athlete and having a lower body injury, having a knee surgery, where you're constantly planting, cutting, moving, shoot. Like footwork is just a part of shooting, balance. It's just as part of everything that you're gonna do with your upper body strength that he had been working on. So, and we see Trey doing a lot of when he's healthy, he has hop steps. He has power dribbles. He has all those things. All that shit going to what type of confidence he has jumping off his feet. Also a dude that's a 2-foot jumper, 2 feet jumper. He's not a dude that just jumps, specifically off of one leg like we see Zion, from time to time. Like that matters. And I don't know if he said he's back to 100%, but if he is, tonight was one of the first games in a while that from a complete spectrum and like watching the game visually, he played and looked like it in a bunch of different elements on the floor.
This team struggled in the first half, right? It was a ton of struggle, and you can see it kind of opened up everything in the second. I'd like to point out, like, having two shooters out there, just that thought process around just having guys that knock down shots. Although Herb is shooting the shit out the ball, right? Like, I think we need to talk about him, but just in general, adding Matt Ryan, he's a guy that hadn't played in a couple months, get out there and get some run, and kind of what that does to a team that lacks shooting. Russ, when you look at this team, hopefully healthy, but when you look at this team, like when they have two shooters out there with a Zion or a Brandon, what does that do for Zion or Brandon to operate?
Well, look, it obviously helps, and I mean, I think we have seen a lot of it this year because CJ's really shot the ball well, and so has Herb. But I understand what you're saying is two guys that really are respected shooters. I still think Herb is even though he's shooting well, is developing respect, but he doesn't have the same gravity that a pure shooter like CJ or somebody like Trey has. It opens it up a lot. I think, one thing we probably don't talk about enough is the opportunities it actually affords the ball handler in this situation, right? Zion or BI. It makes their life easier. I think we always think about it in terms of anybody can play with Zion, right? Because you're just going to get a ton of open looks, and it's not really as simple as that. Yeah. You still have to move off the ball. You still have to do some of these other things to get yourself open. But I think what it does do is it affords the ball handler a lot more dribbling. So in some ways, it makes Zion's life easier. It makes Brandon's life a little easier. And I think that part is probably something that we should continue to see those guys play well if we can get two shooters playing at the same time, or three, God forbid, in situations where Zion's the big. So I think there's more to come from that front.
Speaking of, I think you kind of brought it up, ball handling, right? And I kind of allude that to Herb. I thought Herb was pretty good when it came to playing point tonight, right? There was a possession. I think the Pelicans are on a run. He's almost directing people where to go. And I know CJ's out tonight, but to Chris, when you see Herb kind of operating things, do you think that that could be something that the Pels can actually use going forward when they have CJ back and this team is fully healthy?
Yeah, we talk about it all the time. Herb is kind of a Swiss Army knife. There's a lot of different things that he may be able to do that we haven't seen. If he doesn't have the usage, or he's not going to have plays ran from him. He kind of gets it in the flow of the offense, or just off of his IQ. But yeah, man, I think anytime for a team that doesn't have a traditional point guard, to where your only real option, or your only real option from a traditional sense is Jose Alvarado, having the smartest guy on your team, which in my opinion is Herb Jones, with the basketball in any sense just makes the most sense. Having the smarter guy who just so happens to be the guy that maybe sacrifices the most on offense, the guy who doesn't care about how much he scores, whether he gets 4 shots or he gets 8 shots, having him being able to be a floor setter, having him being able to be a general of sorts, I think it matters. And like you guys have said, from the beginning of the season, he is in somewhat of a leadership role now. So the guys respect him. Who gonna say no to it? Brandon has situations where we see a couple turnovers a game where he just ends up making a pass that he probably shouldn't, due to someone being a little bit aggressive with him dribbling the basketball. We know the same can be said for Zion, but you don't want to have them have the basketball in their hands completely. And with CJ, the way that he changed his game, and what we know, some of the other things that Herb can do downhill as a passer, having skills that apply, and then you add his ability as a shooter, it just makes sense to have the basketball in his hands however you can. And maybe the simplest way, if it's not, of course, it's not going to be plays. It's not going to be plays drawn up for him. But maybe the simplest way is every now and then to let him bring the ball up, let him initiate, let him conduct pace. He's very good at it. He has a timer in his hand. He'd be a hell of a quarterback, calm demeanor, doesn't panic, doesn't do many things that cause turnovers, not super risky on the offensive side anymore. And he's getting better and better at it. I think for this team, they need more of those for a team that has struggled in close games. He might be the dude to help you in that area, especially as we get closer to, playoff time.
So he's like Teddy Bridgewater. right? That would be the comp that I would give her. Yeah,
I'd say you better than Teddy, but I get where you're going.
Yeah. Better than Teddy? Hold on, we'll have that conversation.
Taking the court.
We're gonna take Teddy to court.
Yo, your two main guys, Brandon and Zion, they scored a collective 45 points. Although I think Brandon had a better game than Zion, although he had 5 fucking turnovers, which kind of pissed me off. What do you see like this duo kind of need to do? Again, this game probably should have been over in 3 quarters, and it wasn't. What does this duo need to do to be better on the court when they're on the court together rather than apart?
I mean, play together. I know that probably sounds disingenuous, but I'm like, honestly, they still don't play together. Like Brandon plays his game, Zion plays his game, but there's no, for lack of a better word, intermingling between the two games. That was on the line. If that was on the line, let me know. I apologize.
That was so on the line, but we're gonna let it slide, man. I'm about to say they combined for almost 60 minutes collectively, right? Like they don't. To be honest, they don't play on the court at the same time.
You know what that is? You ever hollered at a chick, right? You ever hollered at a chick before? You know what I'm saying? And look at Ross like, what the fuck is this guy about to say?
These my favorite kind of conversations in the show.
Me too. I'm real curious.
All right, so go ahead.
I'm real curious.
Yo, you ever holler at a chick before, right? And then like say y'all date, and then you know what I'm saying, at some point it end, but y'all still be in the same spots.
Yeah.
Right? So like they're literally in the same spots, just ignoring each other. That's all. Like we gonna be at the same party, we just not gonna dance together. That's pretty much what you got. And at the end of the day, like the concerns of, I hate to do this in a win, but it is what it is. The fit between 1 and 14, I still don't know. That's crazy. That was crazy. I'm sorry.
That was, God damn.
That was crazy.
And then he looked down when he said it. Like, insane,
wait, Chris.
Man.
Hey, Chris, we got the. Nah, the video ain't in here. No more. I'm about to say for your boy with the.
yeah. You gotta add that in. Pause.
Oh wow, yo, y'all going wild right now.
I'm sorry,
man. It's been a struggle to kind of watch this team at times. Operating in the first quarter. And I think you had a clear advantage on the inside with Jonas and Zion. And they really weren't a focal point. I know Jonas missed a couple of shots here and there, but like scheme-wise, when you talk about this coaching staff, what do they need to do to get guys to see like, hey, there's a clear advantage on the interior. Let's get the ball to JB and make it a point. Because don't tell me that doesn't happen or guys don't go rogue, because they do, right? There was a clear thing today where Herb told Matt Ryan, hey, you move out the way so I get the ball to Brandon on the wing. Well, you can do that exact same thing. And I don't know if there's like a heavy set denominator between this team and the coaching staff to say, all right, we're going to play inside first. Like we have to play inside first. And I think that's what they need to do. How do you do that if you're the coach and you're in your coaching staff? How do you get guys to do that, Ross, if you want to chime in?
Yeah, you give me the coaching question.
Yeah, man.
No, I don't look. I don't have any faith really that this staff can really get these guys to do much. I don't even know if they're asking them to do that. It's got to be incumbent upon the players. Okay. I mean, I think we've talked about that time and time again, to make those adjustments, to see those mismatches. And the thing is, you see it sometimes. You see it in spurts, right? Like a few minutes here, a few minutes there, where there'll be like the onus will be get it to JV. Like he's got to match up. If Zion's cooking, but it's never prolonged, right? Like I think you brought it up in the last show. We talked about it after the Miami game, where it's like when Miami got going for a few minutes, not a few minutes, it felt like there was a whole quarter. Jimmy Butler, it just didn't matter, right? Like when they got the matchup for Bam, it didn't matter. Like they were going to just go to that until you stopped it or until you changed. And if you didn't change, well, that's on you, right? And I just haven't seen that level of, for lack of a better term, like that level of just fuck you from this team yet. Of like, nah, we're gonna go to this until you do something different, until you stop it multiple times in a row. And so I think in terms of playing inside out, like we've seen it to start some games, but there's just not a concerted effort to do it all the time.
Yeah. Chris, if you're about to say something, go ahead.
No, I mean, I was trying to think about a game that I can think of where that was the case, and most of it just really involves Zion. I thought Brandon had a couple of possessions where it felt like where I thought he was going to put the game away, before Zion came back in and fouled out, where it looked like it was going to be that kind of situation. I think maybe like the Clippers game, for example, the most recent one, where in the fourth quarter, late third, like Zion just took over and they consistently ran him at the elbow on the right side and just until the Clippers had a solution. I remember in the Boston game was something similar at the free throw line, but it just didn't. I guess the issue is, and I'm curious what you guys think about, like, is it as simple as them running back these kind of actions consistently? How impactful do you think it can be some nice regular season in today's game when your two stars aren't dynamic from the sense of like Zion's not going to live at the free throw line. Either is BI, and night to night, Brandon's not making 3 to 4 threes. Zion's not taking any threes at all. Like you may be able to control games, and when you have a lead, that power element of throwing the ball down in the post to Jonas or having Zion be almost a power running back is special. But in today's league, where it was like you look at the Knicks, once they were down 10, they weren't looking for any twos. Everything they were shooting with threes. They were literally trying to get to the paint just to find the next shooter. Do you guys think that plays a role in difficulty when we're talking about them trying to find some type of consistency in running in action to the ground, where it's not like a Steph or a Dame or a James Harden kind of takeover?
I do. You got a 1-level scorer and a 2-level scorer. in the sense where the playoffs, the game slows down even more than it does in crunch time in the fourth in the regular season. You're gonna see Zion play. You're gonna see defenses play Zion in a way where he's never seen before. Similar probably to Giannis in when he started first getting in the playoffs, started having playoff troubles and realized he needed to expand his game. And the thing is, like, not asking for 6 threes from Zion. I just want you to be willing to take them when you got them. You got to keep them honest. And in Brandon's case, I thought Brandon played well today, by the way. And he had some really difficult shots to keep the Pelicans or get them back into the game. Like, he had some beautiful over-the-shoulder fadeaways and shit like that. But anyways, back to the point I was making, it's the same thing with Brandon. Like, these 7 threes that he attempted tonight, in the playoffs, those are vital. Those are vital shots. And I just don't know. I don't know if you can get that, which brings back to my original point of like them playing together, doing the same thing. You playing basketball together, but you're just on the same court, but you're not doing it. Like, there's no mesh there.
Can I ask a question? Because I'm always, I know we've like talked about this and people always bring it up and saying they should be in the same action. And I think people confuse being in the same action as like playing a 2-man game, and that those two things are not the same. And I think one thing that makes it really, really difficult for them to like play together, as we always say, is that it has to involve either a big or a third player, because neither one of them is particularly good in screen and roll. It's just not. Neither one is really a threat or a true threat from deep. Right? Think about some of the better 2-man game. Right? You got Murray and Jokic, both can pass, both can kind of shoot. Jokic is maybe the best passer in the league, right? Like it's some of these other guys that are really good in just traditional, screen and roll, right? High pick and roll, and you just kind of play off of that. Those two guys can't do that, or at least in my opinion. And it wouldn't be overly successful, I think, in a playoff type atmosphere. So I guess I'm posing the question is, how do they play together? Like, what is the 3-man action or the set that we could go to for those two guys are involved that we think could be successful over and over and over and over again, right? Because when you get in the playoffs, you see teams like Denver for what feels like an entire quarter just run high pick and roll and say, fuck it, stop it. Like, we're not going to – go ahead.
It would have to be – because it's not going to be a 2-man game. It'd have to be a 3-man game. And it's going to sound crazy. They'll have to run elbow, right? But it'll have to be up. Like, it'll have to be beyond the 3-point line. You have to start there. Because and then Brandon, if Brandon's the point at any point in time, I actually would want CJ to be the ball handler at that point because he's the most willing one to shoot from 3. You have to have that threat in the guard because if you don't, then they'll just sag at that point and just catch you at the free throw line or at 3-point line, and they'll be able to corral you at that point. Zion has to be the screener. He has to be a better screener. I always thought that. I've been screaming for Zion Williamson to watch Draymond Green tape his entire career before he even touched the NBA basketball. That's necessary for him because if you do that, then you get to play 2-on-1, 3-on-2 all the time. And he's a really good passer. I don't know why. I don't know if anybody's ever said, hey, let's make Zion the screener. I kind of say that they don't do that because James Borrego's like first month here, he called Zion and Brandon and said, hey, after practice, we're going to get together and we're going to run 2-man game with those two. If that's the first time that they've heard that, I can only deduce from that situation that the coaching staff isn't telling them to do that, or they haven't been putting them in the situations to do that.
So look, because I often I also think from a basketball perspective, a lot of times like your chemistry with someone else, sometimes it's just natural, bro.
Yeah.
Sometimes like you can't help the fact like you can pick up on certain duos, certain players pick up quickly how to adjust and how to play well together. Sometimes their skills just naturally mesh. You know what I'm saying? Lito brought up like I feel like with Brandon and Zion with where their games are, not to say it can't work. I like Five's idea. My thought process would be specifically a high screening role. I think that's the best option that you really have, especially with Jonas on the floor. When you're running it directly at the 3-point line, or you're running screens from the elbow, it's literally just to either opening up a corner 3 or you're opening up a crowded lane for Zion or a crowded midi for BI. But I think, in this case, it feels like their chemistry has to be orchestrated in a sense because they don't have skills, like their individual skills don't mesh well together naturally. So you almost have to, and that does bring in the coaching element. But I don't even know, that's like saying, all right, like if you don't have back to date talk here with Pro Pels Talk, if you don't have natural chemistry with your partner, like it's you could try to think of a bunch of different ways to try to make shit work. Eventually, sometimes you just buying time and it's gonna fail. If neither y'all like to clean, that's gonna eventually be a problem. Even if you outsource it, if neither y'all like to cook, eventually it's gonna be an issue if you ordering out all the time. Somebody got cooked. Somebody got to be the one. Somebody got to be the one to do the laundry. That's just how it go. So I'm curious from y'all, just from being around the game, playing the game, how much of this is just natural fit? And do you think, or can you think of something in the history of the game, or even something that you could think of individually through your time just hooping anywhere, where you can think of a relationship developing with contrasting talents of sorts?
Man, to that, I think it's all about like just playing, right? Like your skills kind of got to mesh. Like there has to be a guy. There's got to be somebody to sacrifice, right? There has to be like one initial person to sacrifice. I mean, if you looked at LeBron and D Wade's game, right? I'm not saying that Brandon and Zion or anything like
That's a
those
good
guys,
point, though.
right? Like their games were almost identical. They were trying to get to the lane. None of them really could shoot. They'll probably shoot the midi like Brandon. LeBron was trying to get to the rim at all times, and somebody was like had to be like, "Hey, you do that. I'll defer from you." Right. And it takes somebody to really say and, take that step back. Although D Wade did that and he already had won a championship, it was a little easier to do. I mean, it's year 5. And we're talking about if these two guys can play alongside one another. I think we kind of know our answer, but I still think that there's something there where they can kind of maximize their talents on the court. Now, I think that's going to be coach driven. It's not going to be player driven. I mean, I don't know if these guys ever worked out at the same time over the summer. Like if your two best guys aren't doing that, I don't know what to tell you. And to really answer your question, Chris, yeah, bro, we've all played pickup against other people. Bro, you kind of know off rip like who you can hoop with and who you can't. Probably the first 5 minutes, just passing the ball around. You kind of know, like, all right, we good. We don't even have to talk. Like, we don't gotta talk. Yeah, that's perfect. That's great. Yeah.
Me just totally on the me and Five. We played basketball. We did a workout. We went through like some shooting drills, right? And then literally the first couple minutes, I said to him, I said, nah, like this. I said like I can't remember the conversation, but it was like this pick and roll and shit. Like you could tell like this shit would be crazy. Like nobody will be able to stop it. I had never played before in my life, and we talking about somebody in year 5 trying to figure out how to develop a chemistry. It just ain't no chemistry. Sometimes the physics don't physics. It just don't work that way sometimes.
That's it.
All
That's all I have.
right. For sure. I know that a couple of people in the comments are like, Brandon is looking for Zion or vice versa. Yeah, bro, they play on the same team. Of course, they probably look for each other. They're trying to get each other involved, but you can see when motherfuckers is forcing it. Like a relationship. You know when a motherfucker is forcing it.
Right.
Hey, like I see you trying. I appreciate it. Almost damn near too late.
Yo, can I add on one more point though?
Yeah.
I don't blame. I'm not like I know people, whatever hive you in, if you're in a Brandon hive, if you're in a Zion hive, I really don't put the blame on either one of those players. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't blame either one of them for it. It's just the game is the game. Like you have a particular skill set. I have a particular skill set. Sometimes those things just do not go together. And like this is the outlandish. I'm not even trying to compare them, but like you saw in the first couple months, you could see in the first couple months of the season, like I couldn't see Dame and Giannis play together. Like it wasn't working because they first of all had no chemistry. They had never played together, but they are so great in their overall talent that it really didn't matter because Dame and his individual self could still go for 30, 40. Giannis could do the same thing. You're not really even getting that side of it from them two. You know what I'm saying? Like even the individual like go ballistic, scoring your own type deal. Like you rarely getting 40s, and you know what I'm saying? Like it's I don't know.
No, agreed. Man, should we talk about Stephen A. Smith? Should we talk about that? No,
we can talk about it.
Could, yeah. We can talk about it.
Sure. All right. So as everybody saw on the internet, Stephen A. Smith released a 10-minute video in response to the Pelicans video of him saying, he's this or he's that, whatever, because he talked about Zion's weight again because he has nothing else better to do. From y'all's perspective, where do you stand and how do you see this kind of playing out? Because I have an idea about how this is going to go, and I don't know if the Pelicans are barking up the right tree. To be honest, Chris, your thoughts?
I mean, look, I think my thoughts are multi-layered, man, because the first thing I think about is in the span of a week, Stephen A. Smith has talked about the Pelicans twice on his show and First Take. Cam and Mace was talking about the Pelicans. Like it's been a conversation that's been widespread now. And I think it's not often that if you are the Pelicans, you even get a chance to be in the news. I mean, they say any type of press is good press. So that's the first thing that I think about. It's just rare that you have this many people talking about the situation, who's right, who's wrong. In regards to Stephen A, man, I mean, I think I don't think what he said was really was all of that crazy. The Zion element, you know, I mean, could he had left out a few things in regards to weight or so on and so forth? That's subjective. That's up to you. AD, for example, Antonio Davis felt like he was being personal with his attacks. But you know, for me, I hear and see people say these things about Zion all the time. And Stephen A's point is that, like these are facts, and there are things in which I haven't said. What he said yesterday about what the team hasn't done, and you know, instead of focusing on him, like, yeah, I mean, sometimes these conversations get way too serious because I think the Pelicans was just, you know, they was taking advantage of the moment, joking around, you know what I'm saying, you know, having fun in the moment, making memes and so on and so forth. And then Stephen A turned it a different way. I think. I mean, but look, I mean, at the end of the day, they got him to respond days later. Like they did, like they won. Their job was to get engagement, get and keep people talking, and they did that. Outside of that, bro, like looking like Zion, whether it was Stephen A or it's gonna be somebody else, Zion gonna deal with this his whole career, dog. He gonna deal with people doing this with him. Like Charles Barkley dealt with this to a degree before social media. You know what I'm saying? Until the success came ultimately, and Zion had a lot more pressure coming into the league, or more pressure than Charles did. So, you know, we're talking about a dude that's been, you know, on the face of magazines and in the topic conversation since he was 14. So the conversations aren't going to end. I think the overall thing was, I don't think really any of it was really disrespectful. There was a lot of truth involved, and none of it really changes for Zion. You just got to stay healthy, hoop, and win, bro. And they ain't gonna be able to call you, you know, to talk about your shape or talk about the weight the shape you're in. They ain't gonna be able to talk about how many games you're missing or what, you know, or what your habits are. If you're winning and you're taking advantage, then like he said during the press conference, I don't remember if you were there or not, Follw, but he said, "Yo, just win." That's really is. And if he's able to do that, he's able to ball out and stay healthy. It ain't gonna matter what Stephen A or any of them saying, because they're gonna want to start talking about Zion again, because Zion is box office and brings ratings, not just someone local. Again, he's gonna be someone who brings in attention. And for the past couple of years, all the attention that's been about him outside of a couple months last season, it's been negative.
Yeah. Ross, your insight.
Yeah, look, I mean, I think Chris just kind of hit it. It's really two separate things, right? Because Stephen A's 10-minute thing yesterday really didn't have anything to do with his initial comment, right? Like, and I kind of am on the Chaz side for this. Like, Stephen A. Smith is in front of a microphone all day long. Like, his job is just to talk and say shit, right? Like, he's an entertainer. It doesn't affect me much personally, right? But he's not calling me fat, right? He's seeing things like that. So, that's a separate thing for me. That's almost to a point where it's like, it was one thing when he said it after the Laker game, right? Like, yeah, he looked terrible and he was fat. Like, that was in some ways like not warranted, but like it might have been warranted. And if I'm being totally honest, I almost think Zion needs that. Like, I almost think he needs to hear that type of stuff, because for him, I think that's the fire starter. Like, I really do. I think it has a positive effect on him. So, like, if I could page Stephen A. Smith like once every like 4 or 5 weeks and just be like, hey, say something about Zion, right? Like, do something negative, like, because I think it's a positive for him. That's one part of it. I don't really care what Stephen A. says in general, but just that's the Zion piece. Did he need to say that thing he said a few days ago? I don't think so. Zion has gotten himself in better shape. He's been playing really well, so it was sort of out of the field. What he said yesterday or the day before, this is the part where, like, if I'm the Pelicans, right, like, yeah, there's the whole all press is good press. They're talking about us. That's, I guess, technically a good thing. But, like, this is the part of the conversation where Like, it's not going to be a great story. Like, he's going to get you every time on this part because you haven't won anything. We've been a terrible franchise. We've lost star players. We've had negative press from some of those players when they leave. Like, it's not a real good story. And so this is what's going to happen, right? Anytime there's anything about a player, it's going to always flip back to this, oh, yeah, but you guys are a shitty franchise that never wins anything. And you've got, like, you know, you turn over coaches and GMs, this, that, and the other. And it's like, this is the part where if I'm the Pelicans and everybody else, I kind of just sort of let this, you know, I agree with what you said, Chris. It's almost like you almost kind of won that part, right? Like, you got him to respond a few days later, but now that he's flipped this conversation, you just sort of let it go, right? Because what can you say? Like, what can you actually do? There's no argument that you're a good franchise. You haven't. You've been terrible.
Hold on.
You're the Pelicans.
Chris, before you go, I think it's a brand issue. Like, I'm big in the marketing. Like, I get why you did it, right? Because you kind of have to take up, and this kind of leads into my article that I'm writing. Like, you got to take up for Zion, right? But the problem is everybody has to take up for Zion. From Najee Marshall to Jose Alvarado to Willie Green to other people, like, it's all, like his dad and people, or just people in the media. When is Zion gonna take up for Zion? Right? When are we gonna get to the point where Zion takes up for New Orleans? Has had to have Zion's back, right? Like, the city, the state has always had to step, like, nah, man, like, he good, you know, like, no. When is Zion gonna take the next step? Like, nah, I'm gonna do this because I need to do it. I need to face these people, not necessarily like, okay, you know, fight them or nothing like that. But back to the original point is, like, the branding thing is, yeah, you respond cool as an organization, but you have to know what the next steps are. And I don't know necessarily that they're ready for that, because you don't have the necessary record to do so. It's all fun and game. Like, if you look at the Knicks social media, it's a different ball game. They play a different brand of sport than the Pelicans do. And I like some of the people with the Pelicans, but I'm telling you, it's not the same game, especially when it just comes to media in general. Stephen A. Smith is going to kill you. Like, he's almost his own entity within ESPN. He doesn't need them to okay things for him to say. You guys do. So you're playing. It's almost like cops and drug dealers. Like, right? Like, to be honest, it's like the cops got to play by a certain rule. Stephen A. Smith ain't got to play by the same rules you play. And you're dealing with the wrong people.
And I think that on top of that is, like, he's less sensitive than you are.
Yeah.
Because he knows exactly what you just said. Like, he knows you've been terrible. He knows you don't have a leg to stand on. And he ain't afraid to just say it, exploit it over and over and over again as kind of, it's like he's got a trump card on you.
Yeah.
That you got nothing for.
It's playing into clear insecurities, right?
Right.
You know, so I didn't, when the original comment was made from Stephen A., I didn't take much. I kind of ignored it until it blew up. You know what I'm saying? You know, because I expect it. Until you do something, until you become something stable, like, sometimes that is what brings the attention. The Pelicans being a good basketball team isn't going to drive ratings for First Take. It's not going to drive ratings for a show unless they win a championship, unless they are dominant, unless Zion is a clear superstar, or unless someone else bursts into being a clear superstar, Brandon, Trey, whoever you think it is. Like, Jimmy Butler and Draymond Green told you a lot about how people view the Pelicans. They're a nice team. Bob Myers told you what people think about the Pelicans. They are the Knicks of the Western Conference. They're a nice team. You got to show at some point that you're more than just a nice team. And I think, you know, the situation with Zion is very similar to just the Pelicans. The Pelicans got to win as well. You know what I'm saying? And I think you end up doing that, then you take care of some of this shit on your own, and people got a little bit of different respect for you. So the only time they talking about you on your show ain't going to be about how long you can stay out of a restaurant or just funny shit to get, you know, clicks and attention.
And just one last thing on the Zion thing. As far as I'm concerned, I would much, in terms of stuff that Zion could respond to, I would much rather him respond to getting the shit fouled out of him and getting up and pushing somebody and making a scene that way on the court than I am about him addressing Stephen A. Smith's dumb shit. Because I think he's doing a good job of, I don't want to say like being the bigger person or like any of that shit, because I don't really care about being the bigger person. But I think Zion's response has been on the court to this stuff. I really do. I think when he's called out like this, it really is a trigger for him of like, damn, they still think that about me. And it gets him started in that direction. I really don't need him to say shit to Stephen A. Smith. I would rather see him say stuff to a player.
No. I meant figuratively.
Yeah,
I don't expect him to ever. Yeah. Nah, I don't confront. You're not gonna win there. You don't get any stripes off that now. So we're at 45 minutes. Probably get out of here in the next 15. If there's any interesting topics out there you guys want to talk about, please send them our way.
Let's hit some of these super chat or some of these questions. I know you got some starred. We've been going through. I don't know if we hit them all.
Nah, we haven't. We only got one super chat. Thomas, shout out to Thomas, man. Just glad to be back in the W column. Glad Mike let Trey touch the ball to get his powers back. Man, yeah, everybody was glad to see Trey get his powers back, man. Just to see the ball go through the net. To be honest, I thought defensively he wasn't bad. I thought he was able to chase some guys off screens. Man, Dante DiVincenzo, goodness gracious, man. I did not. Yo. Son. You could tell he learned some shit in Golden State, bro. You could tell, yeah, it's evident. Like the quick trigger, like he shot 17 threes in that, I think. I think that was the final total. But to even
18. I didn't even notice the shit.
Like, and none of them look bad. Nope. And he's been doing this, right? Tibbs has like called him. I said something about him, like his ability to shoot, or just like a gunner. But like that's what he's becoming, and it's quick. So just if you have sons, send your sons to Villanova. It just seems like the right thing to do. If you have sons, just send them to J. Wright. Well, J. Wright's not there anymore, but send them to
Villanova. Man, I said in the offseason when we did our little like free agency thing, it was like a center, a forward, and a guard or whatever. And I had DiVincenzo as my guard I'd want. I started to see this last year with him. Like it seemed like his confidence. I mean, it's what playing with those guys as a guard does. But defensively, he's a pest too. I mean,
and he can rebound.
Yeah, he's just a good basketball player. But he did some things defensively. I mean, he poked it away from Zion a few times tonight. He's just one of those guys that seems to be in the right damn spot all the time. Like you never really get away from him.
Man, go ahead, Chris.
No, I wanted to add on the Trey conversation. I was thinking here while we were sitting there talking, and I think what's interesting when he struggles or when he goes through certain patterns. I think there's this thought that he's this golden boy that can't be criticized, and I hate that shit, bro. Like I for example, I'm not a fan of Trey because of any business that's been done in the past, or because of any other relationships, or because he's nice. Like I'm a fan of. I've been a fan of Trey Murphy since the moment that he was drafted. You know what I'm saying? Because you look at somebody who's 6'10", who's that athletic, who can shoot the ball like that, and we thought was going to be a two-way player right away. That dude looked like that he might be. He has the opportunity. He has somewhere in him is a possible star. And New Orleans hasn't had the opportunity to draft many people like that. Not at 17, dog. It just don't happen that way. So we're talking about the potential of somebody, a hard worker. This ain't about being a golden boy or just being young or so on and so forth. Nah, bro. Like I think it's it's bigger than that. Like he deserves criticism when he's not playing well, and he deserves to to be applauded when he is playing well. But we gotta throw away the notion that because somebody is saying, oh, he's working back through injury, or he'll figure it out, or this is or the case. What you guys aren't treating him the same because he's the golden boy. Nah, we were talking about Trey Murphy in his rookie season when he didn't play any fucking defense, when he wasn't rebounding and he wasn't shooting well, and he had to go to the G League and he wasn't getting in off the bench. We talked about Trey Murphy last year before he ultimately Josh Richardson took his spot, which shouldn't have happened for that period of time. but we've been critical of him. But one way or another, it ain't got shit to do with him being a golden boy. That don't even fucking exist in New Orleans, dog. They it don't even fucking exist. And I don't think it exists on this show. It's just something different about if you know about Trey Murphy, you know how hard he works on and off the floor. If you really know what you're looking at and you know just what he could possibly be, that's why we talk about a dude about to get paid, hopefully, over $100 million, more than likely. Like, that's somebody that you do want to see turn shit around when he's struggling or he's in a slump. You know what I mean?
Yeah, man. I think a lot of people think like giving grace is you letting motherfuckers slide. Like, you're not. You like, yeah, bro. Like, I think we've given grace to Zion, Brandon, CJ, Jonas. Remember Jonas' first game? That motherfucker couldn't make up like it. You wasn't trying to kill him. Like, I think he went like 3 for 18, if I'm not mistaken. Like, bro, everybody has slumps and periods. Like, we're just great. What's up, Lex? Good to see you back. Like that's what this shit is. It's just grading guys and what you see and potential. And sometimes we're right, sometimes we're wrong. Cool. I'm okay with being wrong. But more of the times like we can see that this guy has a ton of potential. He can be a star. Like, how many people can you say that about? Not many, man. Not many.
Not in New Orleans.
Yeah.
Not drafted. They don't last long, bro. Like how many, off the top of your head, Ross, 5, how many people that have been drafted as New Orleans Pelicans that you thought could be star? Most of them don't last long to begin with in New Orleans. But how many, not dudes that you knew were gonna be a star? I ain't talking about Chris Paul, I ain't talking about Zion, I ain't talking about AD. I'm talking about how many people have you seen that weren't a top 5, a top 10 pick arrive in New Orleans through the draft that you thought had the potential that Trey Murphy has? You can't name them. They don't exist, bro. That's what this current situation is with Trey Murphy that I think people lose sometimes in the shuffle of all this shit, whether he's playing good or bad.
I mean, to even Ross, me and Ross was saying this about Herb when he was shooting. Like, he shot shitty last year. Let's just put it out there. Like, it got to the point where people were saying play Trey over Herb. Matter of fact, that still was this year. People were saying that. If we want to be honest, and those two guys, in my opinion, had the ability to be star level talent. In my opinion, yep. I'm not saying like Herb's gonna, but to be honest, if you grade him on Jaden McDaniels' contract, yeah, he'd be considered a fucking star. He would. But, maybe just maybe, like, these guys, like, we can see it and hopefully it comes to fruition. And then they were drafted by the team. And then you can see where, like, they have almost like this, like, attraction, right? Like this, like, you talk to Herb, you talk to Trey, it's like, bro, it's almost like we can go to the bar and just have a drink. It's that type of feeling when you get around these people that they have like this magnet kind of feel. So why wouldn't you want to keep that person in the building? So yeah. The Pelicans play the Pacers tomorrow, second night of a back-to-back. Pacers are really good. What are they, like third or second in the East, if I'm not mistaken?
No, I think they
dropped way back. I think they're currently playing.
Wait, whoa, God, oh my God! Yeah. I stopped watching it for a second.
Halliburton got hurt for a little bit there, and they kind of started to stack up losses while they were integrating Siakam. I think they have played a little better. Yeah, they're eighth.
They're eighth. Yeah.
33-26.
Shit. Oh yeah, Halliburton got hurt. Fucked around. He tried to come back too early,
right?
And because of the money, understood. Well, they play. Oh, damn, they play tomorrow at 6:30. So I guess another earlier game. This one's gonna be on Bally's. Back on Bally's. Was everybody even able to watch it on Bounce? I don't know what happened with that. Had to watch it on the NBA app. Anything before we get out of here?
I wanted to get to one of the other super chats. I don't know. Shout out to Prince. Why can't they gang rebound when they play small? I'm tired of Larry, not gonna lie. Don't we wish I wish I could answer that for you too. We've been talking about that for the past year, 2 years now. It just, some of the guys that have the talents, you want them to be better rebounders. And I hate to say it, man, but maybe you're almost being put in situations if Larry isn't playing well and you're going against, like if the Knicks were healthy tonight, you almost would have had to play Cody Zeller. And I hate to say that. But that's the predicament that you find yourself in, because you need that traditional base kind of guy when you can't gang rebound. You see these dudes tipping a lot of rebound opportunities over and over, and they're just not able to get them. Or what smart teams are doing now, instead of if like the Knicks, when they couldn't grab a rebound, they would just tip the ball themselves backwards, and knowing that they would end up getting the 50-50 ball. And the thing about that, man, I mean, I think that it's an individual and a team thing in regards to focus. But regardless of why they can't or why they can in some instances, you have to be worried about that, especially when you're talking about trimming the rotation, because those are the things that kill you even more in the playoffs. Those are the games. You think those 50-50 situations matter now. Think about how much they matter in a playoff series where every possession matters. And that's the thing that's worrisome, because you really don't have, an alternative. I'm sitting here questioning if I think Mike Muscala is a good signing, who's about to be bought out. I don't know if that's the spot you find yourself in when trying to figure out what are they going to do at backup 5 center minutes, against teams that are built like New York when they are healthy, or Chicago, or even Indiana tomorrow.
Go ahead, Ross. My bad.
I was gonna say, because I know we've talked about this one a lot, because I'm not a proponent of us going small, because of how bad they rebound, and we've seen it in some of those games where we just cannot get a defensive rebound, and there's nothing that's more of a momentum killer than when you give up 2 offensive rebounds and it turns into a 3. Like, there's just nothing, in my opinion, that's worth a shout out to Ramos. Appreciate you, man. Do you think it has anything to do with like the stature of our guards and forwards, right? Like Trey, not really a physically strong guy. Brandon, not really a physically like strong guard. Herb, even like not really, like wiry, but not really a physically strong guy. And Zion at this point just hasn't proven to be like a committed rebounder. Like, do you think it has anything to do with it? I mean, obviously you can, mentality matters, coaching matters and stuff, but I can't put my finger on this, other than to say that my confidence level is very, very low, because I don't think Larry's a good rebounder either. Like, so like him as a small ball 5 is we've said this before. I think it's pointless. I would just rather have Zion in there. You're not going to rebound either way. But do y'all think that has anything to do with it, that we don't just have one of these like, real physical Westbrook, right? Just a real physical guard that is willing to go in there and get as many rebounds as humanly possible, or does it not matter?
I think it all goes back to coaching. Willie Green talked about this in preseason, to be honest. Like, that was one of his talking points, like, hey, we need to rebound the ball better. I've yet to see this team rebound the ball better, more specifically from the wing standpoint, which would allow you to go small. Like, that would be the thing that said, hey, this team can go small because our wings will rebound. Trey and Herb do not rebound good enough. Like, to that point is to look at the box score. I think Herb has 1 rebound, if I'm not mistaken. Go ahead.
Somebody just pointed it out as it was not the right example. He pointed it out because that Josh Hart went through Herb on one of those drives, right? And Josh Hart's a good example of the type of player I'm talking about, like a wing that's, physical in stature, willing to go in there and rebound every single possession. We don't have somebody with that mentality of like, I really don't care what the plan is here. Like, I see rebound, I go get rebound.
I mean, to be honest with you, Jericho Simmons was the tallest player on the Knicks tonight, he only had 7 rebounds. But there were times where Precious Achiuwa, 6'8", was getting rebounds over Trey Murphy, which is listed at 6'10". Like that can't happen. Like you can't allow second chance opportunities. And again, this is very small sample size versus a downtrodden Knicks team. But this is going to be magnified when the games start getting closer. Like that Miami game, when you give up multiple rebounds and then they score, like those hurt. I mean, remember the Warriors maybe like pre-KD, right? They used to kill people on the offensive glass. And those threes used to come in bunches, right? Like they get a second chance opportunity, it was going to hurt. Like it was almost like another dagger. So, they make 2, it almost felt like 6 in those instances. So,
dude said threes come in bunches. You made me feel like a night out on Tulane's campus.
Wow. I didn't think you had that in the bag, Ross, to let loose on the show.
It's gotten better over the years, but
no, man. Just at the end of the day, man, how many possessions have we seen them give up second chance, third chance, fourth chance opportunities sometimes? Like, bro, you just even tonight, like you can't consistently do that against teams in playoff series. Like what happens when you do that against Minnesota, who already has 2 7-footers out there, man?
Yeah. Like
Ant's gonna kill you. Mike Conley's gonna kill you a few times, bro. Like, even against OKC or any of these really good teams, and you get into a play-in situation with LA or whatever the scenario is, that the West is too talented to give any of these teams those kind of consistent opportunities to where they say that's your weakness. You can have certain weaknesses, and maybe I don't know if that's one that you are going, like possession matters so much in the playoffs, dog. And that's one of the things that translate in football and basketball. Once it comes down to playoffs, possession and time of possession matters so damn much. And when you lose possessions based off of either fit or laziness or not wanting the basketball, more than your opponent, you are going to lose games. And you put yourself up in, having to do some tough shit to pull out opportunities at advancing. Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah.
It's okay. Yeah. Hey, to that point, Chris, that's the one skill that they can actually improve. Like from this point to the end of the season, that's the only skill that you can be like, this is the most probable one to improve on if you just want to get better, right? I don't think you're going to just get drastically smart or like the plays are just going to get better. Like if that's not happening now, you can't just say like, hey, it's going to happen by game 1 of the playoffs. But rebounding, you actually can have an impact on it because it's just one of those ideas. And I wish just Trey, we want this guy to be good, but this is the other part about it. Like he has to be better at it. If he were, like his poor shooting wouldn't matter as much. Right? Like if he just was a better rebounder, like when those times happen, because they will, right? Everybody goes through slumps. If he just was a good rebounder game by game, all right, you'll deal with the off shooting because that guy's gonna give you 8 to 10 boards a game, which he should be, in my opinion.
I mean, 5. Josh Hart, perfect example. We watched him play in New Orleans for a long time. Josh is averaging almost 8 fucking assists. 8 rebounds a game. He averaged 10 last season, and we're talking about a dude who plays with traditional bigs, plays with Hardenstein, Mitchell Robinson when he's healthy. You have Julius Randle there. You have Sims off the bench. You have last season it was Obi Toppin and all these other DiVincenzo is another guy who can mix it up and grab rebounds. All these different guys, and it don't matter. When Josh sees the ball, he's going to be the one to get the rebound. You just gotta want it more. It don't matter. And in your case, if you 6'5" or you 6 or you 6'7", 6'6", or 6'6" like Zion, you have to want to go and get these rebounds, dog. I mean, there's people with less that find a way to end up making these things happen. And the Pelicans can't with some of the talented guys they have, Trey Murphy, like you mentioned. There's no reason he can't have 6 or 7 rebounds a night. They're there. Just got to want the basketball.
It's going to be tough for this team to go small until that person shows up. both either internally or externally.
Dyson Daniel minutes on the way.
All right. Well, anything else, bro? Before we get out of here, appreciate y'all pulling up. We had around 2:20, 2:30 tonight. I don't know what the likes look like. Hit the button before you exit. Appreciate y'all pulling up. Again, appreciate the super chats as well. The money goes to a good place. Hopefully we could do this again, maybe tomorrow. Anything else before we get out of here, fellas?
Do we have a DraftKings read?
We don't tonight, but congrats to old Coach Napoli on another playoff win tonight.
Man, you're not getting. I don't want to hear that. Y'all, they hopefully they lose to St. Thomas sometime soon.
Damn.
Don't they think Newman? Wait, did they?
I think it's Newman on Friday. So yeah, Justin will have another big one, but yeah, we'll see what the Pels look like. We'll be back tomorrow night.
Yeah, for sure. Appreciate y'all pulling up, man. Y'all be cool.